She walked out of town with 4 children and nowhere left to go. No one offered help, until one man asked a single question. That quiet choice turned desperation into shelter and work into belonging, and from that moment, an entire life began to change. Hey there, listener. Before we dive into this tale of resilience and new beginnings, tell me, where are you tuning in from right now, and what's the time on your clock? If you're enjoying this, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like it. The breeze had a harsh howl to it that morning, like it brought ancient spells in its jaws. It ripped through the poplars along the south field, shaking free planks and raising golden dirt that sank far into the folds of Sarah Johnson's jacket. She strolled slowly down the soil path, heading away from the rail stop, back rounded, one bag in her grasp and an infant on her side. The other 3 held to her dresses, silent as ghosts. She had no place remaining to visit. The fellow at the feed tower had not even allowed her to complete her words before nodding no and facing elsewhere. Identical at the food store, identical with the lady at the chapel who would not face her gaze. 4 stomachs were too numerous in periods like these. Nobody stated it aloud, but everybody believed it. The village was not mean, just weary. Conflict had claimed the youthful males, dry spells had claimed the plants. Folks like Sarah, slim and hopeless, seeking aid when they had nothing to give in return, were a memory nobody desired. Kindness had vanished. Only endurance stayed. Her shoes crushed into stones as she strolled. Almost 3 miles went by before the path bent out of the village and into broad grain areas where the breeze shifted in lengthy silver swells. The bag seemed weightier with each move. The infant whined. Starvation ached in her stomach, keen and constant. But she did not reveal it. She could not. She had not consumed since the dawn prior. Just beyond a trench, the ground lifted a bit and the plants grew tall and untamed. Sarah passed it and halted. She placed the bag down, then the infant, and sat herself on the earth. The kids collected near, speechless and light. Their outfits still carried the scent of fuel fumes and steel from the rail. She drew her legs to her torso and pushed her brow against them, eyes shut. One idea pounded within her mind, firm and regular. Not now. She considered of the home she had departed in Kansas, of her spouse's quiet the dawn he stepped out. No message, just his strap absent from the peg and the vehicle gone from the driveway. There had been murmurs afterward, a server in Topeka, a betting match incorrect. Sarah did not mind anymore. What counted was the stillness he departed behind and the burden she bore, alone now. A fuel vehicle grumbled up the path. She did not raise her head. It reduced speed, then ceased. Shoes struck the soil. A male's tone, peaceful and not harsh, shouted out and inquired if she was okay. She lifted her head, but spoke nothing. Her lips felt arid as fabric. He moved nearer. He was a large guy, with broad arms and a dirt-covered cap drawn low. His face appeared sculpted more than developed, aged by light and labor. He stated he did not intend to frighten her. He had noticed the kids and believed perhaps somebody required a lift. She agreed once, cautious. The kids gazed up at him like tiny animals. He stated he had a farm west of there and was returning with goods. His name was John Ramirez. If she required someplace heated for the evening, she could join. Sarah rose gradually. She lifted the infant, then the bag. She did not reply. She just strolled toward the vehicle. He did not hurry to assist her, only strolled next to her, equaling her speed. The kids entered first. She came after. Heat struck her like a surge, and her neck tightened, but she pushed it down. John entered the operator's spot and twisted the lock. The vehicle awoke. They traveled a lengthy period without talking. Then, just prior to the path curve toward the hills, he posed a sole query. "What can you perform?" It was not mean or doubtful, just interested, as if he wished to learn what sections of her were still upright. She looked at him. She stated she could prepare, tidy, and fix what was ripped. She could study and tally. She labored quick and did not grumble. Then she stopped and included that she could grasp 4 kids in her limbs and still split logs. He agreed once and stated that would suffice. They did not talk again. When the farm finally appeared in sight, low structures placed against a spread of white peaks, it seemed like something she had imagined once and overlooked. She did not permit herself to wish. She observed the glow in the openings and heard the breeze drop through the metal barriers. She grasped her kids firmer. The sleep quarters was tiny, 2 spaces, broken panes, and an aged heater in the edge. But it was arid. John gave her a loop of locks, informed her where the liquid device was, and departed them alone without queries. That evening she rested on the side of the bed with the infant asleep against her torso. The others were rolled together below a blanket that carried the scent of wood and fumes. She observed their arms lift and drop. Rest did not arrive. Her palms shook in her knees. Her thoughts roamed through the periods behind her. The simple marriage ring, the footwear too tiny for her eldest lad, the period she requested food behind temples and was sent away with firm grins. She had performed what she had to. She had exchanged pride for energy and bore the embarrassment far in her back. Now she rested in an unknown sleep quarters with no funds and no assurances beyond dawn tasks. Still, it was the initial period in a lengthy period she was not scared somebody would claim her kids while she rested. She arose before sunrise. She bound her locks back with a bit of cord and stepped outdoors where ice stuck to the plants like crystal. The atmosphere carried the scent of creatures and cold metal. John was already in the shed raising supply bags. She informed him to reveal her where to begin. He inquired if she understood equines. She stated not much and even less about livestock. He stated then they would begin with birds. He revealed her how to sweep the pen and how to grasp the supply container so the creatures did not crowd. She observed his palms closely. He labored with goal and without loss. When she tripped, he revealed her again and moved back. He did not rebuke. They labored most of the day next to each other. The kids remained near, collecting ovals and murmuring to animals. When her youngest dropped in the dirt and wept, John gave him a vegetable and stated there was no disgrace in becoming filthy. The earth had worse items. By twilight, she was exhausted down to the core, but it was a true fatigue. John deposited a container of soup on the step with loaf and a message about repairing a barrier the next day. She grasped the message for a lengthy period before placing it down. That evening, the lights were brighter than she recalled. The breeze had become calm. She did not weep, but something firm inside her relaxed. For the initial time in a lengthy period, she believed perhaps 1 day at a period might be sufficient. The barrier near the garden extended uneven along a portion of ground that tilted just enough to feel unsteady underfoot. It had been fixed too many times with loaned planks and corroded cable, tilting like a weary guy who declined to rest. Sarah stood there with a mallet in one palm and cold breeze in her lips. John indicated to a decayed pole near the center and stated if they did not repair it, the animals would discover a way through and create problems for weeks. He gave her a mitt with 1 digit absent. She drew it on without remark. She grasped the pole while he pushed it into the soil. When the cable slipped, she steadied it. When her hold failed, he captured it without a term. She observed a deep mark at the base of his finger. Aged. She did not inquire. He did not clarify. At midday they rested below a bent fruit tree at the border of the garden. John opened a container of legumes and passed it to her first. She paused, then accepted it. He stated his sibling used to call that type of food rancher delicacy. When she inquired about his sibling, he stated he tumbled off a top years back and went quick. He stated it simple, without anger. It made sorrow feel less like a gap and more like a load you bore. He never inquired about her spouse. He discussed the ground instead, how it arrived to him portion by portion after his dad passed, how the garden used to be complete before the ice damaged it 3 seasons in a row, how he almost sold the farm 5 times but never did. Some items just attach to your core, he stated. She comprehended. Okay, pause for a moment in this heartfelt journey. Where are you listening to this story from, and what time is it showing on your watch? If it's touching you, give it a like and subscribe to keep these tales coming your way. That evening, she discovered her eldest lad resting up with a ripped volume in his knees, voicing out terms slowly. John had provided it to him and stated there was her entire rack more. She touched her son's head and felt something ease in her torso. The next dawn, John brought her an additional jacket and stated it was too tiny for him. She expressed gratitude to him. He stated she had been fine assistance. It was not much, but it heated her more than the jacket. Days dropped into pattern. Labor at sunrise, break at midday, dinner shared peaceful. The kids followed John like he was a firm plant. He revealed them how to soothe an equine and bear a supply container. Sarah observed with an odd pain in her neck. One dusk, she remained to assist shut the shed. When it was finished, she inquired why he halted for them that initial day. He stated he noticed her lads signal at the vehicle, a tiny item that recalled him of somebody. That was all. By season, the lowland eased. Verdant sneaked back into the areas. Young animals were born delayed, and Sarah assisted with 3 of them. Peaceful and constant, the sleep quarters carried the scent of loaf and cleanser. Now the kids chuckled more. John brought tiny presents. She expressed gratitude to him every period, though it never felt sufficient. Still, folks in village did not quite gaze her in the gaze. She heard murmurs. John heard them too, but never altered. One evening she informed him what they stated. He replied simply that she had not damaged anything. She had brought existence into a peaceful spot. Warm season brought tougher labor. Then a message arrived from Kansas, brought by an officer. Her spouse desired the kids back. He claimed she left him. Sarah bent the message and concealed it, but John noticed her face and read it. He inquired if it was true. She informed him the fact. He stated she would require somebody on her side. Attorney arrived days afterward and placed the details clear. Without evidence, it was her term against her spouse's, unless there was a lawful residence, unless she was wedded. The breeze hit the entrance door as the burden of that term settled. Sarah stepped outdoors, trembling. John followed afterward and informed her he was not posing out of obligation or worry. He stated he would stand next to her either way. She accepted his palm and felt the difference between save and selection. They wedded peaceful and simple. The kids stood near. When Sarah said yes, her tone did not tremble. The meeting arrived in June. Her spouse rested smug and far. John spoke constant about the existence Sarah constructed. Sarah informed the fact in clear terms. When it finished, the official stated she would think. They traveled home under a broad heaven. Weeks afterward, the message arrived. Guardianship was rejected. Protection granted to Sarah Ramirez. Existence did not abruptly alter, but it relaxed. John constructed racks for her volumes and etched her name into the timber. The kids called him Pa without being informed. Sarah raised her face to the light and permitted herself to fit. By autumn, the garden produced a few fruits. She cooked them down and created dessert. John stated it carried the scent like something worth remaining living for. Cold season arrived firm, but the home was prepared. One dawn she felt a movement low in her stomach. Weeks afterward she informed John. He grasped her like he comprehended the burden of fresh wish. Season returned. The infant arrived in August, a female they named Emily. Sarah felt calm settle in her core. Years went by, constant and complete. One dusk, John inquired if she ever considered of departing. She stated no, because she finally understood the earth might allow her remain. The lady nobody would employ had been posed one query, and that query had constructed an existence. Cold seasons settled far over the lowland that year, the type that pushed down firm and remained. Ice covered the barrier lines and turned the path into a light strip that vanished by midday each day. The breeze wailed through the openings in the covers, but the home held. Timber was piled high. The storage was complete enough. Shoes were arranged neatly by the entrance, some fixed, some passed along, all heated. Sarah had never understood this type of stillness before. Not the vacant stillness of worry, but a complete one constructed from work and attention. She shifted through the home with goal, records tucked into her cover, powder covering her palms. She no longer awaited for items to break apart. She faced each day directly. John observed changes she did not mention. The way she fatigued quicker, the way she stopped sometimes, one palm resting low on her stomach. He stated nothing until one evening she accepted his palm and placed it there herself. He stopped, then exhaled slow like a guy who had been grasping his breath a lengthy period. He did not talk right away. When he did, his tone was cautious and complete. They allowed the news settle between them, not with worry but respect. He etched a small pair of timber shoes and hung them above the hearth. He stated they were just in case. Sarah grinned and allowed herself believe that the future could extend farther than she once considered. By season, the ice drew back into the peaks. The garden flowered, thin but courageous. The village held its initial shed gathering in years. John did not wish to go. Too many gazes, he stated. Sarah informed him to allow them gaze. She wore her finest blue outfit. John wore a tidy top and shoes polished by the kids. They moved once. That was sufficient. Folks grinned at them. Some even signaled. The earth did not finish. It eased. The infant arrived on a heated August dawn. The glow was yellow and the lowland buzzed with bugs. Sarah leaned against the board when the initial ache arrived, inhaled through it constant. John came rushing from the shed and agreed once when he noticed her face. The helper arrived in period. The work was lengthy but not mean. Sarah bore it the way she had borne everything else, with determination and peaceful power. When the infant arrived, she did not weep right away. She opened eyes up at Sarah, peaceful and broad-gazed. "A female," John stated, grasping her like a wonder he never considered to request. They named her Emily. Existence filled in around them. The kids loved their sibling. John constructed a bed with blooms etched into the edges. The village eased more. Folks signaled. Neighbors requested for assistance. The history stopped counting. Years went by. The garden grew fuller. The kids grew firm and gentle. Sarah discovered her aged bag in the upper area one day and shut it for good. She did not require it anymore. One dusk, John inquired if she ever considered of departing. She informed him no, because she finally understood what it felt like to remain. She leaned into him and observed the glow fade. A residence stood behind them, an existence constructed slow and truthful. Sarah grinned, knowing this was not the finish. It was the start of another tale. And that's the wrap on this touching narrative. Now, where are you catching this story from, and what's the current time for you? If it moved you, please like and subscribe so we can share more inspiring ones together.